everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 Tournament Game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 96. Let's jump into things, shall we? This is the turn that we are attacking into Obelshin, right? Trying to take Obelshin away from Arco. So, no research or anything like that. We did do some site searching. We didn't find anything. But we do have a report from Obelshin. I always know what this means, right? Like every time it's a report from from a province, it's like, oh, it's probably one of these two things. Which one is it? A storm of fireballs appeared out of nowhere and struck the army located here. All right. So we have been flames from the sky. 374 units were hit. Of these, 323 units were killed. Among the ones killed was a Hydromancer. I think I've said this type of thing before. I think I've said this specifically about this spell before, but I think this is applicable to all spells like this. You should absolutely get a fucking log of who got killed, right? You should get a log of who got hit. Probably. And it should be sortable by units and commanders. Because obviously we mostly care about the commanders that are hit here. It does tell us, hey, a Hydromancer was killed. We have no idea if anything else is killed. When this happened, I did actually go back and cross-reference the commanders versus the, on this turn that we had versus the ones that we had last turn. And I actually think we didn't lose any other commanders aside from this Hydromancer. And fortunately for us, just the way that this shit works, most of the units that were killed were long dead, right? It was just a shit ton of chaff that got killed. We did lose a few other things like some Supayas and things like that. But I wish... And I don't, it just seems like this would be such a logical thing to have and a relatively simple thing to do. Give us a log of who gets hit and who dies. Or just who dies, right? Like, that's the one that we really care about, although knowing who gets hit can be important for figuring things out in battles, right? But yeah, anyways, remotes for the turn, flames from the sky, 323 units killed. Bummer, but mostly long dead, not a super big deal. So we have that. And then we've got some battles for the turn. Let's watch some battles, right? We have Vanheim attacking Arco in Viserion Arches. This is another throne, I believe. So we have a Golem here, kitted out with the Ring of Returning. This guy is just coming in to call Lesser Horrors and be a little bit of a pain, right? So Lesser Horrors come in. And not too bad, truthfully. A couple of Horrors, both killed by both killed some Cardassies and some Hoplites. Not too big a deal. This is just PD, so pretty nice for Arco's scenario there. But then there is another attack in Viserion Arches. And this was an attempt to actually take it, right? Like, if those Horrors are able to clear out the PD. They can't hold the location, or if they're able to kill, right, like the leadership, they still couldn't hold the location. So just sending in a scout, clever idea, did not work. We attack some Indies in Mushwood, and this is just a shit ton of knights, right? So what we decided to do was, rather than throw in Huakas, which are just going to get smashed and rout, we sent in a big stack of Long Dead. And they're not going to do great against the Knights, but they are going to whittle the Knights down, and the Knights are not going to rout them, So there was a chance that we lost that just because, like, if the Knights get good RNG, they could cut down way... Well, I mean, they killed half the Long Dead before they routed, but we had good RNG. Unfortunately, our friendly neighbor Ulm decides, and I hate this. This is an annoying thing to me. I hate being at peace with people, or being like war neighbors with someone, and them being like, oh, well, this province that has been yours for the last 20 turns, it just got taken by Indies, so technically it's not yours right now. Me attacking it isn't a violation of our treaties or anything like that. I normally let it slide, but there's the occasion where I'm like, give me my fucking province back. Or we're gonna have some issues. Cause I think everyone knows, right? Like there's no way that anyone is just like, oh no, that is perfectly justified, and there is no underhanded violation of any treaties like that. You know? That's bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. So, a little bit underhanded for Ulm to come and claim this province, but come and claim this province they indeed shall. There's no way our Long Dead can stand up to a bunch of black plate in this type of environment. So we will lose it. And at this point in the game, Mushwood is a very valuable province. 2 earth, 1 death, 1 water, and 1 astral. That's a 5 gem province. Very valuable. But at this point in the game, I'm not gonna fight Ulm over it. I'm not gonna argue with Ulm over it. I do think it's a bit of a rude move, but whatever. More importantly, we have a battle in the fortress of Obelshin. Let's see how it goes. We got our big old stack. We can see a couple of people here or there a little damaged. We got this white mage got smacked, but again, we tried to put protective gear on the right people, the people that needed it. You know, we can see several Supayas pretty low from it. Like I said, Supayas and Long Dead were kind of like the main targets there. But yeah, we are up against sparse defense. We've got a couple of elephants, some Cardaces, some hoplites, and a fair number of mystics all sprinkled out, with this kind of like 2 or 3 bodyguards here or there for most of them. So pretty interesting scenario. There is also the god here, the Caps Lock, the Harvester, Demi-Lich. This guy can do things like Wailing Winds and stuff like that, can teleport in for things. It's pretty interesting. Let's see how things go. We know what we're doing, so we're just going to keep an eye on scenarios up here. Storm goes up. We have Storm on both sides. We have Wailing Winds on both sides. We have a Light of the Northern Star up. Okay, we can see there's a Lucky that goes out from a Will of the Fates that goes out from the side of Arca. We get a lot of Swarm or Creeping Dune. We get some Fire Elementals. We're getting we're getting a bunch of Supayas is what we're getting. We get Relief cast by our Fairy Queen. Some Supayas drop into little pockets, and that's kind of unfortunate, but most of them group in the back. We can see we're already flooding into the front with our Long Dead and with our Huacas. And, I mean, this goes pretty much in our favor. We have a bunch of Nether Dart spamming going on. There's just not enough here to... This wasn't a combat trick. This wasn't a stall tactic. This wasn't some scenario. This was just kind of like a budget defense, and a budget defense is not going to work against what we're sending, right? So we lose 23 Long Dead, or 26 Long Dead total. We gain a War Elephant. That's it. That's all we lose, right? So very, very, very well done or very nice for us, right? Bunch of work done by our Supayas, obviously. And yeah, that's cool. That's Obelshin for us. Battles for the turn versus Arco, 1 win, 0 losses. Versus Ulm, 0 wins and 1 loss. And versus Indies, 1 win and 0 losses. So not the worst turn ever, but also kind of got us there. What else do we have going on? We have some unexpected events. In Golm, a handful of gems have been found in a small stream of water, so we get some water gems. In Silver World, we have 2 events. Heavy snowfalls have blocked important trade routes, so we lose a bunch of gold. In Silver World again, so a series of unfortunate events have redirected important trade routes to other lands, so we double trade route, and we lose province income that time. And then in Satrandith, a blessing. Treasure has been found, so we get a bunch of gold, some gems, and a black steel plate. So for the turn, we have events 2 negative, 2 positive. Silver World income minus 20, gold minus 151. And then for positive events, we have gold plus 710, fire gems plus 2, air gems plus 3, water gems plus 9. That's pretty cool. Earth gems plus 1, and a black steel plate. Not too bad. That treasure really kind of like saved us as far as events go for the turn. It's been rough. Not getting good luck. Not feeling like we're getting luck. Here lately has been a little rough. Getting that. Even though we lost some gold, we net gained gold. So nice to have that. What else do we have going on? We've got a bunch of patrolling all over the place. We got some sneaking discovered. Yeah. What's happening here? Not a lot, honestly. You may notice there are no red arrows heading into Vanheim territory. The scenario continues. There's a combination of things. It is at this point in the game where I think a couple of different things happened. One, we'd been kind of stagnating for the last several turns. Like the global diplomacy had been kind of stagnating for the last several turns. We've had this scenario where, okay, Pelagia, Ulm, and I are going to attack Vanheim. But then Ulm didn't want to attack Vanheim until after they finished capturing the Arco stuff that they were dealing with. And Pelagia needed to reconsolidate after the war with us. So we ended up with a couple turns that were gonna have to go by. And then a couple more turns went by. And so we've kind of hit this point from a global diplomacy standpoint where things have kind of stagnated. Where everyone's like, yeah, we're gonna fight Vanheim, and everyone's like, oh, I need a turn to do this, or oh, I need a turn to do that, right? So that's a bummer. We made the decision as that happened to just say, fuck it, we're gonna go after some of Arco's territory. So that's why we've attacked Obelshin. I think this is a good idea. I think this is going to, again, end up good for us. We are going to claim this throne immediately, and fingers crossed, see how that goes. But now we're kind of in this stage with the global diplomacy where the only thing left to really do is attack Vanheim. But every single time it gets thrown out, it's always like a type scenario. And what that, in combination with a lot of actual real life work, right? A lot of stuff going on in my personal, like, family life, and a lot of stuff going on in my actual, like, job, has resulted in me being very complacent, honestly, and me not harassing Ulm, not being like, fuck it, let's just do XYZ. So we've kind of turned this into a weird stalemate, 3v1 stalemate. That's not really a stalemate. We're just giving Van more time to do what we all believe Van is already going to do. So that's not good. That's bad. That's absolutely bad. Unfortunately, at this point in the game, I just wasn't in a mental state. I was weary, right? I had, like I said, I had a lot of stuff going on in real life, and the stagnation over the last several turns had kind of just worn on me and gotten to the point to where I was just like, oh my god, I don't care anymore, whatever, right? It's really unfortunate because I do think if we had maybe 3 turns ago, if we had all started firing on Vanheim all across his borders, I think maybe we would have been able to, like, I don't know that I don't think we would have won. I think we would have been individually repelled, right? And then someone would have gotten focused. That someone would not have been able to resist the concentrated focus. Vanheim would have lost ground a little bit in other locations, right? But would have ultimately annihilated. Probably Ulm, I think, is the easiest target here, right? Because of the nature of their borders. So there's a lot going on, right? I get that. Unfortunately, it's kind of made this game hit a scenario where it's like, it feels like everyone's just waiting for the inevitable. And I don't want the game to end without some sort of fight, right? So this turn is not really the turn that this happens, but this is kind of spoilers for next turn. Next turn is, I'm basically going to make the decision that I'm going to start swinging. I don't think I start swinging next turn, but I'm going to start swinging with or without other people. And when I say with or without, for clarity, I will repeat. At the time, Ulm seemed very willing to fight Van, and Pelagia seemed very willing to fight Van. And in point of fact, I think it was Pelagia at this point that was more like, are we doing this or not, right? And it was Ulm that was biting for more time. Now, I don't know if... I mean, I think a lot of the decisions that we've made over the course of the last 60 turns have had, you know, rippling effects, obviously. But I'm now at this point, at turn 96, where I really begin regretting ending the war with Pelagia, right? Because in my mind, I'm sitting here going, okay, we ended the war on turn 89. It's turn 96. It might be another freaking 3 turns before we actually get attacks in on Vanheim. We could have another... We rescinded, right? We gave back 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, I think 4 freaking fortifications, and we basically had Yiss dead to rights, right? Like, we gave back a lot on this concept of, oh, the game is potentially about to end. We have to focus Van. Let's go. And then I'm going to say this. I think this is really smart play, really smart diplomacy on Van's part, because they absolutely could have in that moment just the Arco was not a threat anymore. They could have just started going for thrones, and it would have turned into a slugfest at each throne with all of us throwing everything we could to stop Van. But because they didn't go for any thrones, everyone has just been like, okay, well, you know, game's not ending yet. Well, I need to do this thing before I can do this, or I need to do that before I can do that. Let's, I need 2 more turns, you know. So this has been great play. But this is like the best way for a front runner to run under the radar, right? We all know that Van is the problem. We all know that Van is likely going to win. But they're not winning right now, right? Like, they're not threatening a win at this very moment. So, we all feel as if we can kind of rest on our laurels. Bad methodology. So, you know. This turn, ultimately, we're not going to do a whole lot. We are continuing to maneuver Haten Runa around and about for various patrolling locations. We're continuing the training factory. Full swing. We've got a shit ton of units in here. Training to the max, doing as best we can, trying to get rid of, you know, all of the various parts and pieces, all of the various wounds. Trying to make an elite force so that we can eventually maybe fight Vanheim somewhere. And that's pretty much it, honestly. We don't really have a whole lot else going on, except for obviously all of the little mechanical parts and pieces that we're doing. We can see we've got our Dominion growing out, snaking across the water a little bit, which is what we want. We want to try to get Obelshin, Silverworld taken care of. We want to try to continue pushing. We've had good push against Ulm, actually. That's not really what we want. We want to get better push up here in this section, but, you know, it is what it is. So as we kind of move forward on that, let's talk about the mechanics for the turn. So we've got recruitment. We have 1 Lizard Shaman, 2 Malqui Priests, 1 Royal Malqui, 2 Renunkas, 1 Hydromancer, 1 Huron Priest, and 5 Sun Guard. Lots of recruitment this turn because our income isn't the worst thing in the world anymore. Oh, look at that boy.
Odd.
Well, kick him out of it. Because our income isn't the worst anymore, and we did get a gold event, so that's pretty nice. Nothing crazy to kind of like talk about as far as those recruitments go, right? I guess the Malqui Priest, as we're recruiting them, we are recruiting them in various locations in order to... Oh, we don't have them over here, or do we have it here? Yeah, in order to kind of facilitate more reanimation. We're trying to have at least 2 reanimators everywhere we can. We're trying to make sure that we have plenty of reanimators in our thrones, right? To make sure that we can shore up those walls, protect them. We're going to try to get that scenario going over in Obelshin and Silver World as well. We have two reanimators over there at this point in Silver World. So yeah, we got that whole situation going. Only other thing there that I think is kind of like maybe an outside of the norm at this point is us recruiting Huron Priests. But we've been talking about this. We're trying to basically put a Huron Priest in every freaking province to preach in order to kind of like help our Dominion. And I do think it is helping. I just don't know that it's helping enough, right? So we want to get a Huron Priest here, a Huron Priest here, a Huron Priest here, a Huron Priest over here, and over here, right? So that's kind of the plan. It's coming along, but it's coming probably slower than it should be. I should probably just take a turn and be like, okay, how many provinces do I not have preaching in? Let's recruit that many Huron priests and send them out. That should probably be the go-to option, but rather than doing that, I'm being very kind of like slow about it, so probably not a good idea. Other things that we have going on, we have Nazcan recruits for the turn. We have 25 Haten Runa. We actually accidentally got a little overloaded here in Pavonia, so we got to move things out. I don't think we got any messages about not being able to recruit them, but that's pretty much what happened, I think. The 25 Haten Runa, 342 long dead warriors. Hell yeah. That's so many long dead. But, I mean, you gotta keep in mind, right? The reason they exist is to shore up walls and to take fireballs, right? So 342 long dead destroyed last turn, and basically 323 destroyed this turn. 28 recalled Supayas, 2 summoned Supayas for another 14 Supayas, and 1 summoned Huaka. So no change on the specials as far as that goes. We have special recruits for the turn. We have 1 Dire Wolf, 1 Dustwalker, 1 Air Elemental, 3 Sylphs, and 3 Earth Gnomes. That's kind of the basic package going on right now. So nothing out of the ordinary there. I should have been doing Earth Elementals over here with Barathras, but I forgot to. So we got that happening. We are putting a temple down in Obelshin immediately. So buildings for the turn, 1 temple. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. That's not super special. We need a temple in order to recruit the units that we need there. And we need temples in every fort so that we can freaking spread our dominion. Or at least keep ourselves from being dom killed. Right? That's the idea. And then we have rituals for the turn. So a couple of rituals. 1 Arcane Probing, 1 Dark Knowledge, 1 Haruspex, just, you know, being OCD about site searching. Then we have 1 Lichcraft, 1 Teleport, and 1 Dome of Solid Air. So, continuing our Liches, right? I think this is going to put us up to 5 Liches. And then we're teleporting a Royal Malquay over to Silver World, just to have more reinforcement there with Royal Malquays and Supayas. And then we're also putting a Dome of Solid Air up in Obelshin to protect the location. Obviously. Right? So I don't think anything super crazy or super out of the norm there. That leaves our Ultimate Gateway as a normal one. So 6 Astral saved and 8 Death saved for the turn. And then Forging for the turn, we have couple things going on. We have 2 Amulets of the Dead, 1 Slave Matrix, 1 Endless Bag of Wine, 1 Bloodthorn, 1 Skull Staff, 1 Golden Arbalest, 1 Crystal Coin, and 2 Demon Banes. So, a lot of stuff here. The 2 Amulets of the Dead are just to go on the 2 Malquay Priests that we're recruiting, right? Keep that efficiency going. Slave Matrix, we've talked about. We're kind of like putting together a small cluster of slave matrices in case we get to have that option of doing like a master and slave play. That can be very helpful. Endless Bag of Wine, whatever, just supplies. We need supplies constantly. Bloodthorn, that's kind of like an offshoot scenario. We're potentially, right, we might toss some blood magic out, and if we do, we need a Bloodthorn in order to make a vampire. That is just looking 5-6 turns into the future, right? Why would we even do that? Question mark. Probably the only we wouldn't be breaking into blood, right? That wouldn't be the plan. We wouldn't be planning to like, oh, we're gonna get 13 vampires. No, we would get like a vampire or 2, and the whole purpose of getting those vampires or 2 would be to include things like Rush of Strength into our army compositions, right? Or things like Life for a Life in order to try to pop people, basically. So, and there's other things that we could do, but those are like the main focal points that we would be trying to accomplish. So that's looking forward in the future. Skull Staff for the Lich, whatever. Golden Arbalest, little pony counter, whatever. Crystal Coin, just putting together teleport gear, whatever. And then the 2 Demon Banes we've talked about. We're basically turning our focus from water gems into that kind of scenario. So putting together Demon Bane kits so that most of our important people can walk around with a Demon Bane. Demon Bane giving them more HP to survive hits, right? A lot of fire resistance to effectively survive things like flames from the sky, and that's pretty much it, right? Like, there's also the off chance that they get to swing on a demon, but it's really those first 2 things. And that's it, right? So, research-wise, we'll be hitting Enchantment 9 next turn. Enchantment 9 is going to get us Demon Cleansing, very important. We will have that in basically every army. Gaia's Blessing, pretty important. We can do all of the components of Gaia's Blessing without doing Gaia's Blessing. But this kind of encapsulates things and helps us worry about other shit, right? So there's that. There's also Fields of the Dead, but I don't find Fields of the Dead to be very useful the majority of the time. And it's kind of a weird cross path, so we can do this, but it is a little more difficult for us to do, and is what it is. Enchantment 9 also gives us access to Arcane Nexus and Gift of Nature's Bounty. Those are both game-winning or game-changing plays that we could have made, but I think it's probably too late in the game for us to make them, right? At this point, if we were to drop an Arcane Nexus, we would want to drop it something like this turn, and we would want to drop it at like a 500 or 600, pearl investment in order to become a big threat. And we just don't have that. We had an opportunity 30 or 40 turns ago to make the decision of, hey, we're going to make a play for this global. We have to store for that global, and we're going to go for that global. But we kind of didn't do that, and in not doing that, we've taken that opportunity away from ourselves. So it just is what it is at this point. I guess there's an off-chance world that the game goes for another 30 turns, and then it becomes a situation, but probably not. I can't see that being the case. So we're going to be done with Enchantment 9 next turn. We will be going for Thaumaturgy 9 for the potential of a Master and Slave play, but also for our Astral Travel. Astral Travel is very pricey. 25 Astral Pearls is a shit ton of Astral Pearls. But it is better Gateway. Gateway lets you lets you reinforce a location. Astral Travel lets you attack a location. And Astral Travel doesn't have the bad side effects that Stygian Paths do. So it is harder for us to cast, and it is very pricey for us to cast, but it is kind of like a upscaled version. So Master and Slave, potentially something that we're going to be doing. Probably, again, this is another thing that we should have 30 turns ago said, yeah, this is the play. This is how we win in the late game. We get 3 Royal Malquis that are Master Enslavers. We empower them, we get them set up with penetration gear, and we basically pick a fight and we start saying, okay, do what you want to do, but every army that you move is now my army. At least partially, right? Unfortunately, we didn't make that decision 40 turns ago, so I think a true late game of Master and Slave is again out of the cards for us. But we can do a bootstrap Master and Slave, right? We can do that scenario where we have a bunch of slave matrices, we pop into a battle, and then all of a sudden we've got a Royal Malquis that goes boom for a little bit of penetration, and we take a quarter of an army rather than a whole army, right? Like that kind of concept. So that could still be on the table for us. Anything else going on? I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. I think this is unfortunately a little bit of a stagnant turn where from an actual strategic standpoint, I think we made the right decision. If this was real life and war was upon us, right? I do think the Nazcans and Pelagians and Ulmish people, I'm not sure about that one. Ulmanians, I don't fucking know. Should combine forces to deal with the threat of Vanheim, right? But unlike real life, this is a video game, so shit gets in the way, right? We don't have the impetus or sometimes the motivation to do the things that we need to do. So unfortunately, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that the effect that we could have had 8 turns ago, 7 turns ago, is going to be the same effect 3 turns from now, 2 turns from now, 10 turns from now. I don't know how long this is gonna fucking take. And I really, the thing that keeps circling back to me is like, man, I wish I'd just stayed at war with Pelagia. I think I still stand by the decision, right? Obviously, it's hard to say, oh, I stand by this decision when obviously that decision has turned into an incorrect decision. But if I had stayed at war with Pelagia and Vanheim had decided to go for the win, then there's almost nothing I would have been able to do, right? We would have desperately tried to Stygian paths a couple of things at Vanheim, and I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think it would have been consequential. Whereas us making peace with Pelagia did almost immediately, 2 turns, right? Like, put us into a position to be able to protect additional thrones and then take another throne for ourselves, right? So, right? It's the best laid plans kind of concept. It's you know, again, it's no, this is, I say this is a video game, but this happens in real life, right? Like where if everyone is on the same page and does exactly what needs to be done, miracles can happen, right? But so rarely are people all on the same page, and so rarely are all the individual players invested in the same way at the same time, right? Because I've had multiple, this is a 96 turn game. This game has gone on over the course of like 7 or 8 months now, right? It's all but impossible to have the same investment and motivation the entirety of that time. So when it happens at the wrong time, it's like, fuck. All right. Anyways, I'm just rambling on at this point. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in the next couple turns. We are going to make Van fight for it. I just think the longer it takes, the less of a fight it's actually going to be. So, that's going to be the end of this turn. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.